Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson, with you're going to love this clip I pull up from CNN. They absolutely admit that beyond the shadow of a doubt, the FANI Willis case goes nowhere. It's going to go nowhere. But in addition to that, there is a solution, people. There is a solution to Judge McAfee's terrible, awful, ridiculous ruling. I want you to think about just how bad this ruling is, because he talked about the mendacity, he talked about the lies, he talked about all of this. But then he still said that FANI Willis or Nathan Wade could stay on the case. So even though the lie involved the both of them, even though the perjury involved the both of them, somehow one could stay on the case and it would still be okay? Tell me in what world that makes sense. But I'm going to pull the solution up first, then I'll share this clip you're going to love from CNN. Out of the Federalist, it's time for Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and his AG to indict FANI Willis for perjury. This is the answer. Now, the question is, does Brian Kemp do it? He's a complete rhino. It's going to take a lot of pressure from Georgia citizens. But the opinion was wrong on the facts and the law, but Trump and his co-defendants have strong grounds for appeal, and FANI Willis isn't out of the woods yet. Moreover, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and Attorney General Chris Carr need to do their job. Get over whatever animus they have toward Trump and indict Willis and Wade on perjury charges. So they start out, there are the factual errors. There were two core factual issues with Judge McAfee that Judge McAfee was charged with resolving. The first was whether Willis and Wade's romantic relationship began before November 2021. The second was whether Willis had a conflict of interest resulted from Wade paying for vacations for the two of them while he was contracting with Willis's office. The first question was pretty straightforward, okay? And then you had Robin Yurdy. She testified that the relationship did begin back in 2019, and that was reluctant, you'll remember. Judge McAfee dismissed Yurdy's testimony as lacking context and detail. Perhaps Judge McAfee didn't bother to reread the transcript of the proceedings that happened in his very own courtroom. Yurdy didn't merely testify to the fact that Willis and Wade's relationship began in 2019. She testified she had multiple conversations with Willis about the relationship prior to 2022, that she observed Willis and Wade hugging and kissing prior to 2022. It's hard to understand what further detail McAfee expected Yurdy to provide. Maybe he wanted video from the bedroom. I don't know. Judge McAfee also completely brushed aside cell phone data showing that Wade often spent nights at Willis's residence prior to 2021, 10,000 text messages, and so on. Then there were the legal errors. Judge McAfee's actual findings, though bizarre and untethered to the evidence, are unlikely to be disturbed on appeal, as appellate courts must give a lot of deference to the fact finder. But there were also several suspect legal holdings in Judge McAfee's opinion that are ripe for appeal. McAfee said that the evidence did not establish the district attorney's receipt of material financial benefit as a result of her decision to hire and engage in a romantic relationship with Wade, and that the defendants did not present sufficient evidence indicating that the expenses were not roughly divided evenly. Okay, so listen to this. Okay. The defendants did not present sufficient evidence indicating that the expenses were not roughly divided evenly. Well, neither did the prosecution do that, folks. The error there is so great to say that, well, the defense didn't provide this. Well, yeah, but the darn prosecution couldn't provide it because it was all in cash, okay? As Professor Alan Dershowitz pointed out, McAfee misapplied the law in this question. Defendants presented straightforward evidence that Willis benefited from hiring Wade. Wade's credit card receipts showing that he paid for their joint vacations. Given the existence of these receipts, the burden should have been on Willis and Wade to prove that these expenses were reimbursed. But of course they couldn't because they were all in cash. They could not do this, of course, okay? McAfee held that the burden was on the defense to prove that the expenses were not reimbursed. That's improper as a matter of law, and as Dershowitz explained, it's also grounds for reversal on appeal. Further, McAfee found that neither side was able to conclusively establish by a preponderance of evidence when the Willis-Wade relationship evolved into a romantic one. The sentence is legally incoherent, people. If a prosecutor or the defense can conclusively prove a reasonable doubt, the point of a preponderance of evidence standard is the fact that he does not have to conclusively provide the evidence. Rather, there just needs to be more evidence supporting one side than the other. See, that's beyond reasonable doubt versus preponderance of evidence. If Judge McAfee had applied the preponderance of evidence standard properly, there was no way he could have found it in favor for Willis. Okay, McAfee also held that an appearance of impropriety can warrant disqualification of individual prosecutors, but not the whole prosecutor's office, and further held that removing Wade would cure the appearance of impropriety. Again, I addressed this before, but how does that cure the appearance of impropriety when the impropriety was both Willis and Wade? The last legal holding is unlikely to survive appellate scrutiny. The appearance of impropriety implicates both Willis and Wade. As Jonathan Turley put it, it's as though the police discovered two thieves in a bank vault and arrested only one. There are reasonable questions about whether Willis testified truthfully and about whether she financially gained from the prosecution. Those questions don't just go away because Wade withdrew. So Willis is not out of the woods. McAfee bent over backwards to avoid disqualifying Willis and her office. The opinion created a ton of problems for Willis going forward. Judge McAfee described how an odor of mendacity permeates the case and acknowledged that reasonable questions about whether Willis and Wade testified untruthfully further underpin the finding of the appearance of impropriety. So those things provide this fertile ground, people, for this to be appealed. But I've got to show you this clip from CNN because it's going to make you smile.
He wrote that the reasonable questions remain about whether Willis and Wade testified untruthfully about the timing of their relationship. I mean, that's...
Today was a very good day for Donald Trump. This case is going nowhere. Even if, in the extremely unlikely event that this somehow staggers to trial in August or in the fall, think about this. There's another racketeering case in Georgia where jury selection, not the trial, jury selection has taken a year. This case is never going to trial before the election. It's an embarrassment, all of this. I mean, FANI Willis has hung on, but this case is going nowhere very quickly.
I love that clip. It is an embarrassment. It is absolutely not going to happen in the timeline. Jury selection in another racketeering case took over a year. This thing is not going the way they want. And I want you to remember, she is trying to prosecute the former president of the United States of America on a criminal racketeering charge when the real racketeering is between her, the Biden Justice Department, Joe Biden's office in the White House, and the January 6th Commission. We've already seen those communications. And remember this too. She is trying to put these people in jail for allegedly attempting to deceive Georgia courts 3 years ago. Now, how can she actually do this? She can't credibly prosecute the case when there are credible questions of whether or not she told the truth. So just this case is dead. It's dead. Anyways, go check out my sponsor, Midas Gold Group, MidasGoldGroup.com, or text Lumberjack to 232-425 to receive free silver with a qualifying order. Folks, these are veteran owners, not commission salespeople. That's where I get my gold and silver. You can call them also at 480-360-3000. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.